Hey, welcome to the show. We've got movies, we've got video games, we've got action figures, and a little bit of tech. We've got everything. Welcome to Reviews on the Run. All right, you guys, let's get started talking about Alien Earth. This just has dropped on Disney+. It's part of the 20th Century Studios collection of Alien titles that are out there. Romulus was the last Alien movie that we saw. It was a lot of fun. Noah Hawley is the showrunner for this series, and he's got a really cool sensibility. He brought us Legion. He brought us Fargo. He's got a cool psychological slant on all this, and I know that one of the things that they wanted to do with this show is introduce some new alien species. I've seen the first 6 episodes, so I haven't seen how this show resolves, but what I can tell you about this series is that it is very evocative of all the beautiful work that Ridley Scott did, mostly Ridley Scott, a little bit of what James Cameron did with Aliens, even some touches from Fincher's Alien 3 in this series. Everybody is absolutely excellent in this show. Lots of great performances, lots of great world building and slowing things down because, as the title implies, it is a ship filled with alien beasties that crash lands on Earth, and then they start to infiltrate into the human population in some really weird ways. We have this tech billionaire who is a complete sociopath and will stop at nothing to kind of gain dominance. It is a future Earth where corporations run everything, as we all know, and the alien is kind of sidelined a bit because we're already familiar with the character is going to be, but we also know what the character can do. So it's not that same kind of like, oh my God, I'm creeped out by alien attacks. And there are some in this series. It's more how these alien attacks are going to infiltrate with all of these different people and how these new creatures are going to integrate into the storylines. So you are freaked out. More importantly, you're creeped out. There is this sense of it's like gooey grossness that is a big part of every episode. But you're also intellectually stimulated all the way along because there are these synthetic humans and these robotics and all of this cool technology. And again, you don't know quite who to trust. And you're following a whole bunch of different subplots. At the core of it is this synthetic girl who reminisces about the life that she used to have with her brother. And there's a reconnection there. And I can tell you, man, this show goes in a bunch of really cool, interesting directions. And lots of great vignettes. There's lots of iconic moments and scenery in this. I think the best thing that I can say about Alien Earth is that it honors where it came from, but it's brand new. It's totally unique and very special. It's not to be missed. I think the show is marvelous. I can't wait to see how it resolves, so I can't give like a full score on the whole thing, but what I've seen so far, easy, 9 out of 10. All right, one of the big games that has just hit the Nintendo Switch too, and I streamed it the other day, is Madden NFL 26. It's the first time a Madden game has been on a Nintendo platform since 2012. Can you believe it? It used to be on the Wii and the Wii U, and then they skipped the Switch entirely, and here it is on the Switch 2. And I played it and was mostly impressed by what I was looking at. They're not trying to dumb down the visuals and make it a separate game from what you would get on the PlayStation 5 or the Xbox Series X or on the PC. It is very much a close approximation of what you get on kind of like the top of the line current gen game platforms. And it runs very well whether you're playing the game docked or in handheld mode. I don't know if it's hitting quite 60 frames per second. I don't have the technology to kind of assess the exact frame rate of everything. And I wasn't crazy about the transitional hiccups that were happening with all of the data sort of menus popping up and all the broadcast transition graphics that keep popping up. There were some crashes that I had. The game crashed entirely and I had to restart it. And there were also things like my ankles were missing and my knees were missing in some of the combine stuff that I was doing. But you know what? When I got on the field and was playing with the full team and the full roster, I was having a really good time calling the plays. Definitely, I was much better at the passing game than the running game. And with defense, I haven't played the game enough to really kind of love that as much as I do scoring the TDs. But it still felt really satisfying to get those sacks and to stop a play from happening. It is a really freaking fun game. Of course, it's overloaded with all kinds of microtransactions and all kinds of stuff to push you into paying more once you've already bought into the experience. I tend to ignore that in this game and in all sports games that I play, and I just sort of hunker down with the core gameplay, and I've been having a lot of fun playing this thing. I also checked it out just to see how it would run on the ROG Ally X, and I was pleasantly surprised there as well. I think it runs quite well in handheld mode on that platform. You're looking at some of the footage that I recorded directly on the Ally X right now, and it was pretty decent. So I think Madden has done a pretty good job at moving away from PlayStation and Xbox and giving players on the PC and the handheld PC world, and now on Nintendo Switch 2, a very fun experience. I think there's probably going to be some patching and some improvements. They're going to get a lot of real-time analytics and data based on people's play and their complaints, and the complaints will be many, but I think Madden is pretty damn fun. And this is kind of like a square one for Madden on Nintendo. And if it does well, you're going to see it kind of blossom and keep growing. Will it keep up with the inevitable PlayStation 6 and whatever the next Xbox is? Only time is going to tell. But I'm liking Madden NFL 26 on Switch 2. I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10. I missed this when it hit theaters, but luckily now movies hit digital platforms so quickly, I was able to pick up Ballerina, the movie starring Ana de Armas, and watch this film. It's in the John Wick universe, and Ana de Armas has joined the Ruska Roma Assassin League, and she's on a revenge mission because some horrible things happened to her when she's a kid. But needless to say, she's got all kinds of incredible skills, and she can kill anybody, and she does so in this movie. And I think you're going to watch Ballerina if you do, because you want to see the action and you want to see that sort of John Wick style ballet of violence. And that's there in this movie for sure. I just felt like a lot of the artistry was gone from this experience. I felt like this was almost explicitly a full-on business decision. I felt like the John Wick films 1 through 4 were kind of little miracles because they looked like they were just going to be kind of B movies, and they all exceeded expectations and were actually individually wonderful. And John Wick 4 was so staggeringly beautiful, and I had high expectations for Ballerina. I love Ana de Armas. I think she's wonderful, and I think it was a missed opportunity to not capitalize on her sensational cameo in No Time to Die and sort of take that character and go off on a new tangent. I think that would have been amazing. And I think she's competent in terms of her acting and her action in Ballerina, but it's just not that captivating because it's a lot of seen it before. There are also some Back to the Future kind of moments where they're sandwiching her into sequences that we have seen in the John Wick films, and it's so forcibly orchestrated that you just don't feel any kind of emotional hook to this. And I think that's part of it. You're just not emotionally along for the ride. That's what John Wick kind of nailed. They gave us a sense of the venom and the vengeance that the character had. And with Ballerina, we get a tiny taste of it, but it doesn't really fully deliver because it just feels like it's kind of playing it safe and by the numbers. Some cool sequences for sure, some crazy gunfights, and there's a pretty cool sequence with grenades as well, which I enjoyed. And there's this cool village that Ana de Armas has to kind of infiltrate, and it's so beautiful and so cinematic. I enjoyed the scenery of her working her way through the town and killing all kinds of bad guys. I thought that was pretty rad. I was also happy to see Gabriel Byrne in this movie. I'm a fan of his, and this is the last time that we're going to see Lance Reddick in a relatively new movie. Rest in peace, Lance Reddick. He was wonderful in the John Wick series, and it was a nice surprise to see him reprise his role in Ballerina. But I don't think this movie is that great. It's too bad because there's some nice ingredients. I think I'd probably give Ballerina like an extra point because Ana de Armas did the work and she's so cool. But this is a competently made but really forgettable film. I'm going to give it a 5.5 out of 10. I was an enormous fan of Robocop Rogue City, and I was very happy to see that they have dropped a standalone DLC component appropriately titled Unfinished Business, and this is a very, very fun experience. I streamed this the other day, and we were having a blast chatting about it as I was plowing through hordes and hordes of bad guys inside of this mega building. It's very much like the plot of the Dredd movie that Carl Urban was in, where you've got this building that feels like a city, and there's all kinds of different bad guys, but also just innocent people trying to survive inside of this space. And so you're peeking around corners and you're shooting at bad guys and you're picking them up and throwing them into all kinds of objects that will zap them or fry them or destroy them. And you've got robots and drones and things that will come out after you, and you're picking up all kinds of weapons. It's the same core experience gameplay-wise, but I think what the developers have done with this game is they've just stayed true to the license. They really really knew what we wanted to experience playing a 3D Robocop game. The character looks amazing. The cut sequences are always fun to watch. There is an intelligence and a sense of humor in the writing. There's great acting beats in this as well. And it's just goofy, it's silly, it's totally in the vein of what Verhoeven did with the first Robocop film. I remarked as I was streaming that I would love to see what Paul Verhoeven thinks about Rogue City and now Unfinished Business. But I love this game and now this DLC. I think it's a no-brainer if you're a Robocop fan, which I happen to be, and it's just really fun. Yes, you have to deal with him being a big plotting tank, and you're gonna hear his footstep sounds like crazy. He's not a super fast character. You get some abilities that allow you to kind of zoom into bad guys or dodge out of the way super quick, but for the most part, you're just taking the damage because you can. That's the benefit of being half man, half robot. That's the deal with Robocop. But he's super fast on the draw, and he's got the ability to jack into all kinds of computers and monkey with turrets and take on streams of bad guys and shoot people in the leg if they've got shields. You know, it's crazy fun, and it's definitely a pickup if you are already a fan of Robocop Rogue City. If you're not, if you haven't played it yet, and you've dug Robocop, you know what you gotta do. You gotta check that out. But Unfinished Business is definitely a blast. It's not as good as the, Rogue City. You don't really get to cruise around inside of Detroit, which was the standout element. There were lots of areas, lots of stuff on the streets of Detroit, which made that game so fresh and fun. Also, going into the police station. So it's better, but if you beat that, if you finish that, it's time to pick up Unfinished Business. I think you're gonna love it. I'm gonna give it an 8.5 out of 10. Man, I've been so lucky lately being able to play awesome retro-styled games like Ninja Gaiden Ragebound and Shinobi Art of Vengeance. But I've also been playing some killer shoot-'em-ups with the Gradius Origins collection, and now I've been playing Earthion. I streamed this the other day on my ROG Ally X. It ran beautifully. It is a super cool shoot-'em-up by Yuzo Koshiro, who is a musician in the video game space. You've known his work for years and years, worked on Streets of Rage, worked on classic Shinobi games. He's got music in the Art of Vengeance, the new Shinobi game coming up. He's also got some music in Min of the Hollower. So he's been around this kind of retro space and this retro revival for a long time. And this is a game that he designed and directed through his company called Ancient in Japan. And my God, it is so freaking fun to play. It is so tuned. It's an actual Genesis experience, so there will be a Genesis cartridge down the road. It's coming to all the consoles. Right now it's only available on Steam, but man, this is an incredible pickup. It's intense in terms of the visual stimulation and how many things you have to steer around, not just the bullets, but also all the objects being destroyed and exploding before your eyes. So there's a lot of really careful navigation that you have to do. Difficult. And there's also a lot of strategy with the different weapons that you're going to be picking up. My favorite was this kind of ribbon laser that was just blasting everything in its path. I really enjoyed that. And you can pick up augments along the way, and if you don't die and you collect it to the end of a stage, you can augment your craft with better shields or an extra ship or enhance your weapons to some degree or add an extra weapon slot. There are all kinds of visual options as well, so all of these awesome CRT filters. You can even play it on a bad CRT so you can't tell what the hell is going on, and it is insanely addictive. And of course the music is freaking perfect. I had such a fun time playing that this week. I played it on the stream. I ran into a couple of little hiccups towards the end, but I went back to it on my own time, and I adore this game. I'm giving Earthion a 9.5 out of 10. Now, how I played my Switch 2 and Earthion on my streams recently was actually a pretty interesting story. When I got back from my trip, I was in Europe for a few weeks, and I didn't take a dock for the Switch 2. I took the Switch 2, but I didn't take the dock because there were no sort of smaller docks. I didn't want to take the full-size dock with me on the road, but I got back and I got this press release almost on the day I arrived back home from Avermedia. They had these 3 smallish devices that they were touting would work with the Switch 2. They're part of their AVERMEDIA Go series. There is the EXTRO, which is a dock plus the ability to record right on the dock. They have the Core, which is like a smaller little dock that is basically just a power puck, and you can plug your Switch into that and then into a TV, which is really handy. And then what I've been using this week to plug into my PC and my OBS software is the Elite. And it's a little black box that has the ability to plug into the laptop that I've been streaming from or any computer. You plug your Switch 2 into it using a USB-C connection, and you have an HDMI out that you can plug into a monitor of some kind. And so your footprint for this new dock and this capture device is incredibly tiny and very versatile and perfect for traveling. And I was so bummed that I didn't get these when I hit the road, because this would have been great to hook up to TVs all over the place. And also, all three of these devices come with different plug adapters, so you can plug them into European outlets or UK outlets or North American outlets. So super handy and definitely made for traveling. I've only really had time to test out the Core Elite, but I can absolutely recommend this device. It is very cool. It's something that I will now start taking on the road with me when I travel with the Nintendo Switch 2. It's a super smart device and it's very well made. I know that the Nintendo Switch 2 has some different power parameters, and there is the chance that they will do some kind of firmware update that will impact the firmware on this device working. But what I had to do when I started using both the Core and Elite was I just updated the firmware off of the AVERMEDIA website, and both of them work just fine. I really started to use the Core. That is now my handheld PC and my Switch 2 capture card that I'm going to be using for the streams that I do, which is really freaking cool that they're so small. So I'm hoping that Nintendo doesn't do any kind of firmware patch on the Switch 2 that, you know, makes this thing not operate with it. But for now, this is incredible, and it's absolutely the device that I will be taking with me everywhere I go. Now, pricing on the Elite is a little bit all over the place, so definitely search around. I'm seeing prices as low as $100 Canadian, and I'm seeing prices as high as over a couple $100 Canadian. So it's somewhere in there. I don't know what the US pricing is, so definitely do a little bit of shopping around. It looks like this thing will go on sale from time to time, so check into that. But I'm impressed. The Avermedia Go Core Elite is solid. I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. You know, this wasn't something that I anticipated being able to stream and talk about, but Apple sent me a code to review Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition on my Mac. So I loaded this onto my MacBook Pro, which is an M4 Pro version. I bought it late last year. I did a stream with this game and it ran really, really freaking well. Now, I couldn't turn everything up to, you know, premium. I couldn't have everything on epic and all the ray tracing options, but stuff was running in high at decent frame rates with sort of medium levels of ray tracing on. I didn't have path tracing, and it looked so damn good. It looked especially good on the MacBook Pro's screen. It looked great on the streaming monitor that I was playing off of, and it looked good in the stream, but it looked insanely good on the 14-inch MacBook Pro screen that I have. I'm impressed that Apple is doing deals like this and working with companies like CD Projekt Red to bring incredible games like this to the Apple Store. I think that's phenomenal, but I do want to see Apple take this opportunity to embrace more developers and more titles, and also parse out a separate store just for games. You know, maybe work in partnership with Steam a little bit more or something, you know, just to make it a little bit more promotional, to get people to recognize that these robust experiences, a game like Cyberpunk, which is such a wonderful showcase for any hardware that it runs on, whether you're playing it on the Switch 2 or any of the PC handhelds that are out there, and now you can show it off on your Mac and also just enjoy and bask in the world building that CD Projekt Red did. I mean, every time I go back to this game, which is a lot, I've played this game a ton since it launched in 2020, I am blown away by the level of detail and the immersion and all of these intricate little pieces that went into crafting Night City and the surrounding areas. Phantom Liberty, the DLC that's included in the Ultimate Edition, I also jumped into, and it ran exceptionally well. This is absolutely a must-buy if you've got a Mac with one of the M chips in it. You're really gonna freak out when you start to play this game. I'm actually envious of people that have never checked out this title and have the horsepower to run it well. It's so impressive. It's such a beautiful game. And I mean, honestly, clear your calendar and just get lost in it. Soak it up. It's a really wonderful treat. And I'm just happy too that a lot more people like me that edit on Macs and do most of their work on Macs, now they've got an opportunity to jump in to one of the best games that's come out in the last decade. Cyberpunk 2077 Ultimate Edition is a 10 out of 10. It just frankly is. It's a 10 out of 10 game. And again, here on Mac, it's still a 10 out of 10. Now, something cool that came in, and this is a little bit different. You guys know I love action figures. I have a whole bunch behind me in my studio, and I've really been getting into the Marvel Legends line over the last little while. So many wonderfully designed characters, and I was so enamored with the production design of the Fantastic Four First Steps movie. I immediately, as soon as they became available, I had to pre-order the figures for Fantastic Four. So these are the first Fantastic Four action figures I've ever had. As soon as I saw the cast that was going to be in this film and the new suit designs, I had to pick them up. They have lots of flexibility, lots of points of articulation. Mr. Fantastic has removable arms, and he can have these big giant rubber arms, which is pretty cool. The Thing's got, the clobber in time fists, and he's just this big hulking beast. I love the sculpt on the Thing. Invisible Woman has a little force field that she can project out in front of her, which is pretty cool. And then Johnny Storm is actually an interesting one because you get the core figure in the blue suit, but there's also an extra figure that you can pick up, which is him in the flame on mode. And I've seen some people have done some cool stuff with how they display the two figures together as if he's transitioning into that other character. So I'm going to try to figure out how I set mine up. But I am super happy with these figures. They're some of the coolest in the Marvel Legends line that I've seen in a while. And that's saying something because they make some awesome figures. I've still got a Silver Surfer that's headed my way, but I've got the core team of the Fantastic Four, and I've got nothing but love for these things. But maybe it would have been cool if they had thrown in Herbie with one of these characters, because that's a great addition in the movie and in the lore of the Fantastic Four. But these are sweet. I'm gonna give them a 9 out of 10. All right, you guys, that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for hitting that sub button if you dig the content we have here on EPN. Thanks for hitting that thumbs up and for sharing our material, and also for commenting down below. What did you think of some of the things that I was talking about today? Let me know in the comments below. We will see you soon, and until then, play forever.